You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it?
Aliens. They seem to be the answer to many paranormal stories, but no other place has attracted as much extraterrestrial attention as today's topic. It's been the center to many government conspiracies, stories about close encounters with otherworldly beings, and recently the focus of internet attention as users presumed to storm the gates. Today we're going to talk about the history and conspiracies surrounding the infamous Area 51. This is Red Web. Task Force, it's been a hot minute since we brought aliens back to the plate, but you know what this is. It's Red Web, the show all about mysteries, true crime, anything unsolved, we're gonna get into it. Today, I'm your host, Trevor Collins, joining me with the gut instinct, Alfredo Diaz.
I see what you guys are doing, you Christian and the research team.
We're worming this stuff in.
You guys are, all right, the Red Web mystery tree has got some fruit dangling and hanging, but you're leaving some of the plumpest, juiciest fruit way up high, because we're like episode 150. We're now just tackling Area 51.
Oh, yeah.
First and foremost, if you listen to the show, you know my stance. I believe that there must be some type of intelligent life form out there. The universe is so massive, it's ever growing. It's
a statistical certainty in your mind.
I bet on those statistics.
Okay.
That being said, there's just so many things.
I'm about to talk to you about the Fermi paradox at some point.
Oh, I don't know what that is, but I'm excited to learn about it. Like most things on this show.
Why do we not know about it?
Because the universe is huge. Let me launch you into space and see if you can find anyone. Super excited. I guess the big thing I'll say before we get into it, there's nothing there. Why are they guarding it so heavily?
Ooh. Oh, well, we're going to crack open this case. We're going to talk about the history, the very colorful history about Area 51. We got Jillian in the chair, in the hot seat. Jillian, how's it feel to be the chair today?
It's exciting, especially because I went off the deep end with this one.
Now, have we pushed you off the deep end, or do you live there with me?
I definitely live there.
Okay, I'm good. We're in good company, Fredo. We'll draw you into the depths, but yeah, I'm very excited to talk Area 51, and at some point, I've brought it up before, we're going to have to talk about the Fermi paradox, because it's a whole other conversational piece, but basically, it's just the question, why haven't we seen them? And it goes into way more detail than that. Of course, the universe is big, however...
It's also old.
It's old. So if... oh, man.
But we've been like, it could be slightly intelligent life forms. I mean, like, look how long we've been around, which is granted it's a blip on the timeline of the universe, right? But I mean, you could have other life forms that are half as smart, that haven't had as much time to evolve. They're out there. They just don't have the means, to. I feel like
I'm threatening to go off the deep end and like a huge tangent here.
Oh, 100%. We'll get into it. But all I'm saying is, like, the barrier, like that's a very, very thick wall to break through in terms of, like, I'm an intelligent life form, but I'm an intelligent life form that can traverse the universe. That's huge.
The issue is, even in our short lifespan as humankind, we're already noodling on the idea of interstellar travel, right? And so, where has any other, like, the odds of another intelligent species, 13 billion years of time for them to show up, it really... Anyway, I could go on and on. I just need a good excuse to get into it. You know what I mean? Let's talk Area 51 is what we're here for. It's what everyone clicked on. Task Force, I hear you getting fidgety. Let's do it. Far out in the American deserts of the West lies a highly classified United States Air Force facility commonly known as Area 51. While Area 51 currently operates as a remote detachment of California's Edwards Air Force Base, it resides within a 4,531 square mile plot of land called the Nevada Test and Training Range, or NTTR, which is also part of the Nellis Air Force Base. Very quickly could get confusing. Feel free to stop me if you need any clarity. But that is a lot of land. The facility is officially known as Groom Lake or Homey Airport due to its proximity to the salt flats of the dried up Groom Lake. Salt flats act as perfect natural runways for test flights and emergency landings alike due to their incredible size and flat grade. You'd say, well, why not build a runway? That's a lot of concrete, a lot of time, and a lot of runways are maybe 2 miles. These salt flats are very expansive.
Oh, that's awesome.
And very remote.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. And this is also why you'll find a plethora of government and military facilities in this area in particular. Again, it's remote, it's flat, it's perfect for things that fly and go fast.
See, now you're laying down the foundation of why.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me different government divisions are essentially like, this land is perfect for different government divisions to reside in.
Yes. Pretty much.
See.
Because they do.
Now that's starting to answer my question of why is it so heavily guarded, because they got a lot going on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're going to use factual history to basically build the case as to why people have so many conspiracy theories that center on Area 51. So instead of having theories at the end of this episode like we normally do, we're actually going to explore some of the stories that center around this area.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we'll have some grounded reality to answer why those stories may or may not exist or as fact, right? So to attach this location to a popular tourist destination, to give people that mental map I try to paint, Area 51 is 83 miles or 134 kilometers northwest of Las Vegas. To reiterate, even though it's closer to Nellis Air Force Base, Area 51 is administered by Edwards Air Force Base in California. Fun fact, before coming here to do this as my job, had a job offer as a test flight engineer for the F-35 at Edwards Air Force Base. Your boy was a stone's throw from going to Area 51. So Area 51 is huge. That being said, it is dwarfed by the surrounding Nellis Air Force kind of range, but it is 23 miles by 25 miles, kind of like a little rectangular or squarish shape. It's a plot of land with heavily restricted airspace, even to other military planes. This place is, as you identified, very heavily guarded.
So even the people that have clearance don't have enough clearance.
Yeah, and the people that work there get flown in from the Las Vegas airport in a plane with blacked out windows. So even they, and then when they land, they get into a shuttle, into a bus with blacked out windows that then take them to their final destination, whatever hangar they work at, for example. I don't know, or maybe they...
I guess there's multitude of reasons. I mean, but it's also kind of weird where you're like, I don't know. I feel like use that for our office. If someone was like, I'm going to fly you, say you lived in an adjacent city or something like that, or just, close by. I'm going to fly you in to the office airspace. And then from there, you're going to take a shuttle to go to the specific office building. I'm like, it's just right there. I see it in Google Maps.
I can see it in Google. I looked at, satellite imagery. I could see it.
You know what I mean? I guess I
can plot the route.
Since it's so large and there's so many different hangars. Which hangar am I in?
I think
it's
also
hard to pinpoint. I don't know.
For sure. I think it also has to do with the fact that there must be a lot of underground tunnels, offices, what have you. That's a huge theory, is that not a lot of it is completely visible. So
can we isn't there just some kind of high-powered magnetism type of
spit that science
X-ray scatter thing?
Yeah, an X-ray scatter science thing.
No, I'm sure they have something with
Jillian can't help you now.
I don't know, press it up against a rock and it's the rock is this dense and there's these hollow points and everything like that. And then can we do that just on the ground or near the ground of Area?
I see you're talking about sonar. Real science.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got you. No, I'm for sure. It's entirely possible. I don't know how close to the ground you'd have to be. Also, if you're kind of I mean,
who knows the limitations and everything like that, right. And also they're stop pointing devices at the ground. But that's interesting because do we have? I'm sorry, this is all just so fascinating.
No, that's okay. Get into it. That's what we're here for.
Do we have any facilities that have an elaborate underground system or you know what I mean? I'm talking you ever seen Resident Evil 1, the Resident Evil movie, not the animated, Resident Evil movie, the Umbrella Corp, is like down under, and you take levels and you breaches out. It's like the honeycomb
No,
thing.
for sure. I see what you're saying.
Do we have anything that's like elaborate like that?
I don't know factually.
I'm Googling.
Julian, what do you got?
I'm Googling.
Jillian will get back, but I just
So I know for a fact that
I know we have like small bunkers.
Right. I worked at GE for some time.
Yeah.
A few years ago in Cincinnati at GE Aviation, and there are definitely underground paths and tunnels and things that people use to transport things around. It's also for manufacturing and whatnot, but that's as far as I'm aware at most facilities. If there is a 10-story deep kind of secret facility, I really doubt we would know.
That's true.
What do we got?
At the very least, there is the Cheyenne Mountain Complex,
Okay.
which is a Space Force defensive bunker.
What? Space Force.
And here is one of the offices.
Oh, that's cool looking. It kind of looks like a mission control an accounting design team.
It is their command center.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
At least from 2003.
So I guess we got something like that.
I Googled it, and at least a couple things.
There's
came
a
up.
couple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you want to work at one of those places? Deep under the ground, safe from anything that could happen.
I don't know.
When the aliens come and glass our planet, you'll be safely miles below the surface.
For what though?
Great answer. That's exactly how I would feel.
It's a giant timer on the board at that point.
Yeah. I'd also get a little claustrophobic. But anyway, here's also a map just for your interest, just of the area.
God, it's large.
Yeah. So
Air Force Range, Nevada Test Site, Air Force Range, Desert National Wildlife Range.
So the training range, that whole Nevada Test and Training Range, is the size of Connecticut.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Wow, it's massive.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell when you see a zoomed in map.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you compare it to other relatively smaller states, it's surprising just how massive these areas are. But coming back to the idea of Area 51, we talked about the formal names that it has. It's unknown exactly why it's called Area 51, but it's believed that the name comes from the Atomic Energy Commission's maps. These maps broke out this remote land into plots referred to as areas with incremental numbers. So you'd have Area 25, you'd have Area 26, etc. That said, on these maps, these areas only go up to 30, so it's an intrigue as to why it's 51.
Well, that's why people think it's underground.
Oh, because there's...
Area 30 to 51 is underground.
Oh, and then 51 just breached the surface to be like,
yeah,
I'm here just to confuse
that's
you.
the exit.
Yeah, that's exit only. That's the gift shop.
Yeah.
Now, it's also been referred to as Dreamland and Paradise Ranch, which we'll give you a little bit more context for later, but I've never heard those.
Dreamland? What is this, a theme park?
It's kind of it is doing the same thing the theme park is. It's to tickle your fancy and build interest.
But here's the thing, if you don't want people bugging you, you don't want people entering.
Right.
Don't give it alternate names like Dreamland.
Dreamland and Paradise Ranch were more for like coaxing employees out there, people that would work at this facility. They're like, oh yeah, it's Paradise Ranch. And you're like, okay, I guess I'll work there now.
This feels so oddly unnecessary.
Right. I kind of like Homey Airport, and that's where me and all my homies go.
Oh yeah.
when we go flying.
We hang out.
And then we go to the lake, Groom Lake. It sounds like a lovely time, but it's actually just a dry lake, just flat bed
Don't know
land.
where anything is. We're constantly going from one place to the other, blacked out windows.
There's no McDonald's. There's no grocery. All right, so we've talked now about where it is, how big it is, what it's called, some of the early kind of desires for this area. It finally became alive as a test facility kind of in the 50s. In 1955 in particular, during Project Aquatone, the CIA, or the Central Intelligence Agency, required a testing site for what would become Lockheed's U-2, a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft meant to evade radar detection by flying above 60,000 feet. To put that into more familiar terms, that would be 11.4 miles up in the air, or 18 kilometers. That's way up there.
What do planes fly at? Like
half that.
Like 35.
35?
Yeah. This would be actually, to kind of date this episode, would be where those high-altitude balloons of recent news were around that altitude. So incredibly high up.
It's extremely high.
The CIA and Skunk Works, if you've never heard of them, that's actually Lockheed's Advanced Development Program. They call it Skunk Works. They needed a remote location that would allow for extreme secrecy. So what better place than the salt flats of Groom Lake, or Area 51? After flying over Groom Lake, U2's designer Kelly Johnson actually had this to say, quote, "We flew over it and within 30 seconds, you knew that that was the place. It was a perfect natural landing field, as smooth as a billiard table without anything being done to it." Johnson called it Paradise Ranch to encourage employees to move there. So there you have it.
Before the area.
Right.
Okay.
Basically, they're like, okay, I've designed this high altitude spy plane that can take pictures from a super high altitude, can't be seen by radar. It's perfect. It's nigh invisible. Now, where can we test this? Where can we build it so no one will know about it? They start flying over the deserts and they go, boom. So it's kind of like one of the origin stories of this whole place. Now, Aquatone was successful and the US was able to spy on the USSR with U-2s until 1960, when unfortunately Gary Powers' U-2 was shot down over the Soviet Union during a reconnaissance mission. As a result, two things happened that are very interesting and actually could be the genesis for the explosion of the theories around Area 51. So, first off, the US government was forced to admit that they were spying on other nations, that they had this secret aircraft, and two, the Soviet Union now had access to this highly classified plane. And so now it's only been a few years, the American populace, the world is now aware, okay, the government is spying, they have advanced technology that we're not aware of, they have to test it somewhere, and oh no, the enemy has the aircraft they just came up with, and so now they have to go back to the drawing board and continue to iterate and further develop new secret aircraft.
I feel like if it was so important and you're flying it over like enemy territory, I feel like you equip the plane with like an aircraft cyanide pill.
Ooh?
You know what I mean?
Something that'll just melt it down to the nuts?
Just pop it.
Just pop it.
Just like
they can still get stuff out of it though, you know?
They could still get, I guess like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you could get stuff, but I guess there'd be better odds. You know?
Maybe. I mean, this thing was shot down, and so then it came down from such an extreme altitude. I imagine not a lot of it came intact.
Yeah.
Either way, cat's out of the bag, right?
Right, yeah.
This secret aircraft is known about, and this led to the need for more aircraft testing, including the possibility of making the A-12, which was another high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft, very, very similar to the SR-71 Blackbird, one of my favorite aircrafts of all time, but it could go like Mach 3, this thing, super fast.
Oh.
And so now they're like, well, do we take an aircraft like that and make it unmanned? So that way we don't lose individuals if they ever get shot down. Then it also led to the creation of the drone D-21 Tagboard, which is a wild-looking aircraft. If you've ever seen the SR-71 and you look at one of the engines, it's kind of got a cone in the front, and then it has a cylinder that kind of obviously feeds then into the engine. It looked like the SR-71's engine with wings on it. It is so abnormal to the drones that we're aware of today that it looks like, how does that fly? Like a rocket with wings, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then, of course, with all of this said, it led for the need to expand Area 51 and continue using this remote site. This expansion included testing spaces, homes, recreational facilities for new employees, etc., to continue to bring out brilliant minds to an otherwise remote and desolate area.
Right, but I guess, you build out the homes, you have them stay there, live there.
Mm-hmm.
You build out were they building out grocery stores then?
Maybe, I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah.
I guess we don't have, I guess I'm going to assume we don't have any like Google Map.
No, we should. Google Maps goes back to at least the 60s, which is really weird. It gets all like fuzzy and dark and black and white and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we could look, what I imagine, and Jillian, correct me if I'm wrong when you were doing the research here, I imagine they're developing the suburbs of Las Vegas more than they're developing the immediate area of Area 51. There is a small town named Rachel, not too far away from it, highly trafficked tourist destination that they sell alien merchandise and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But otherwise, since they fly in people on that short little skip over to Area 51, I imagine that it's mostly just coaxing people out to the desert in general or Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have some stuff on there, but I wasn't.
Just almost just because I know that they don't have a lot of residences there now, but I don't know. So at the end of the day, that's kind of the origin of Area 51. And I'm so interested to the fact that like the U2 development is really what helped spur this location to life. One of them being shot down is what almost necessitated its growth and further development, which more firmly attached it in the zeitgeist of the time. People being very curious about What's in the air? What is that UFO? Is that aliens? What are aliens? These are all questions we're all very familiar with now, but at that time, they weren't as popular of topics. They were more like far-fetched ideas, definitely thinking of the idea of the year 2000, we're going to have flying cars and maybe we'll talk to aliens and maybe we'll go to space and all that. But yeah, we're just on the precipice of the space race here.
I think it's so interesting to actually know the history of Area 51.
Yeah.
I'm sure most people and a lot of people listening don't know what the origin is.
Most people know it's like, oh, well, it's a mysterious place that has aliens.
Yeah, secret base, and there's rumored to be aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, this is already laying the foundation for like my skeptical self of being like, I mean, they used it to build secret planes, said this was a great place, kept expanding on it, and I'm sure the divisions jumped in and went, we could use this space too, it was great. And then they just kept, well, since we have a lot of secret stuff here, let's add more secret stuff. And then they had so many things that were just like, okay, we really got to guard this stuff out. And then that's that.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm so curious. You got me thinking now how deep that facility is. A lot of people actually theorize that what you see on the satellites this is what's allowed to you to be seen. That at some point they declassified it in 2013. So now it's officially public knowledge, but we all kind of knew. But now they're like, oh, well, they're telling us in 2013 because maybe they went to Area 52. Maybe they went somewhere else. And this is just the remnants to be like, hey, look over here while we do the magic over there.
I mean, the things are just underground. So it's like we could show you the topical, like, satellite views and stuff like that. But, I mean, all the big stuff's underground anyways.
Yeah. Man. All right. So kind of leaving the history now, I want to talk about some of the various stories from the area that could have a firm holding on Area 51. Before Area 51's existence was officially recognized by the U.S. government in 2013 after a Freedom of Information Act request, fascinating, rumors swirled for decades surrounding the idea of UFOs and government secrecy. Not only is Area 51 home to the espionage tactics and testing, but it also borders the Nevada test site, not to be confused with the aforementioned NTTR. At the Nevada test site, nuclear weapons were tested from 1951 until 1992. In total, this included about 1,000 nuclear weapons tests. We bombed the crap out of our own desert.
How's it not just radiation poisoning up the wazoo?
Oh, well, I'm sure there is. Okay, we just gloss over that. But there were also baby ones. They weren't like huge devastating ones. They were just baby devastating ones.
Got it.
Yeah.
Also, the whole like act where, you know, it has to be revealed and everything like that. I mean, like, how much can you really trust that though? The
Freedom of Information thing?
The Freedom of Information.
Well, what's interesting is I've seen Freedom of Information Act request denials on way less sinister stuff. You're like, oh, no, we can't reveal that. It's classified. But I'm like, but you can reveal a top secret test facility for aircraft?
Like, I feel like they just have that just...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For the general public to be like, okay, sure, yeah, I mean, eventually we'll see and it's nothing. But like, they're not gonna... It's the damn government, man. They're not gonna... They're flying aircrafts, secret aircrafts over like enemy territory. You know what I mean? Like, they're not gonna play by the rules. They're not gonna sit here and be like, well, we had this act and like, I guess we just gotta tell everyone that
we gotta be real, we gotta be honest with them.
And like, the earth is ending in 5 years and just let everyone know everything we know.
I don't know, man. Steve, we got this really classified aircraft, but John came through and he said, please let me know. And I said, I guess I gotta tell him now. Yeah. He said, please.
He said, please. And he showed me the act in a pamphlet that described it. And then here you go. Like, there's no way they're telling us.
Right. It feels like
we're selective.
Exactly. It feels smoke and mirrors, which is why a lot of people think, oh, I don't know, is this the real place, or is there another place now? Maybe
I didn't even think about being another place.
Can you imagine? What if they said, crap, we're found out. Everyone just went into their tunnels and they burrowed for miles and miles way north until they found a new spot, popped up to the surface and said, we're Area 12 now. You know, I don't know.
I feel like you just build out a new spot.
Yeah. All right, coming back to my notes now, let's talk about some more of the sightings and UFO stories in the area that kind of helped groundswell up this momentous topic of Area 51. So 1947, the Roswell incident occurred. In short, we have a rancher, W.W. Mac Brazel, who found pieces of metal and rubber on his property. Many believe this debris to be left over from a UFO, but we'll talk more about that story in particular later in kind of the conspiracies section at the end.
Like When you say pieces of metal and rubber, I'm just thinking like 70s UFO or 60s UFO where it's like it's a flying saucer, or you know what I mean, like a 2 plates and then a teacup upside down.
Yeah.
And then it's got like wheels like an airplane. That's the rubber. Like rubber can be used for multiple things, which is so weird. Like, it's like, and rubber. It's like, does it look like a tire? Like, what is it?
It's an amazing story, but it leaves a lot to be desired when you see the photos of the debris. You start to go, man, that's underwhelming. You know, it's like some.
This is like the story.
It's like very thin metal sheeting, and then some rubber and some kind of sticks and stuff. Continuing now down the timeline, though. So what I want to reiterate, kind of provide some clarity, because we did do a bit of a tangent. So what I'm kind of going through now are some of the stories that existed before the known Area 51. That kind of like, I'm trying to now walk you through how UFOs and aliens entered the zeitgeist, entered the minds of a generation. And so we can try to correlate the history, the facts of Area 51 with the stories, and see if we can't try to put it all together and figure out, okay, this makes sense. For example, the next piece I have is that during the testing of the U-2 aircraft, the reason why they're in the area, right, the salt flats and everything, is going down in the 1950s. This corresponded perfectly with an increase in UFO sightings reported in the area. And so now combining that with why people are in the area, you start to build a more pragmatic answer as to what are these UFOs, and maybe if this is the origin, it doesn't matter how it spiraled out, maybe the origin being earthly in explanation might kind of bring it all back down, so to speak, to Earth, and make more realistic explanations that are not maybe aliens, right?
It grounds it. But I mean, that makes perfect sense. All these tests, like secret aircrafts going up in the sky, if it's got different light patterns from what you're used to seeing, or different formation, or like layout from what you're used to seeing, or it's extremely high into the sky moving, you go, planes are usually a lot lower than that.
Right.
You're thinking aliens.
Man, if I saw a plane at 60,000 feet, if I could see it.
If you could, yeah.
If it was night and had its high beams on, I'm thinking maybe that's a satellite. And if I'm in the 50s, I'm thinking that's a really slow shooting star, you know? I don't know. Maybe their eyes were just better because they weren't staring at phones all the time.
You keep seeing it. You're in the area, you keep seeing it. Then you go, it can't be multiple shooting stars.
Oh.
How many times is you telling me there's a satellite that's passing my sky like every other night?
It's going in circles over there. Yeah.
So I guess that's how you could spiral into aliens.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Just trying to think.
Yeah. That and sensationalized headlines, of course, probably help spur things up. But moving on now to Project Blue Book. We've talked about this in various episodes, but essentially it was an Air Force project that investigated UFO sightings from 1947 all the way up to 1969. They were able to attribute a majority of the sightings of UFOs in the area to Area 51 flight records. That's really nice and practical to put together. However, it is the government itself doing it.
Right.
So it leaves room for conspiracy to say, well, maybe you're just shuffling your own stuff under the rug and claiming otherwise alien activity as yours, so we don't freak out. It's also worth mentioning that this information wasn't public at the time, and so thoughts and stories of it being aliens could certainly spread more rapidly than the truth was able to catch up.
1,000%.
I'm like, okay, well, it's good that we have a practical solution here, but without people knowing, they're going to spiral.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, again, building to the lore of Area 51. It's also the fact that Area 51 itself was so secretive. From the very beginning, it spurred rumors. The restricted airspace, even to other military personnel, was such a curiosity, unfamiliar to the nation at the time. It had 24-hour security. I mean, your first question was, why is it so heavily guarded? And they've got signs on common streets that say, literally, once you pass this sign, it is our right, if we so need to or choose to take you out. It is a warning that you should not trespass because people with binoculars, people in black trucks, with the darked out windows are going to, pull out their binoculars, start looking at you. People have footage of all that. And I'm like, why are you dabbling with it, man? The men in black are going to come wipe your cerebellum like that.
Don't risk it.
Mm-hmm. And then also the fact that it had its own little baby airline. Like I said, it flew in their own employees. And so clearly perfect chemical balance for rumors to go off the handles. Now jumping forward a little bit still, in 1989, there was an anonymous individual, later identified as Bob Lazar, who appeared on Las Vegas's KLAS and told interviewer George Knapp that he, in fact, worked at Area 51 as a scientist, and part of his work was specifically to reverse engineer crashed UFOs.
I remember this.
Oh yeah. If you're interested, I'll give you some high-level thoughts here, Task Force, so don't feel like you got to run away just yet. But after this episode, we did a whole deep dive into Bob Lazar. So if you're interested in what I'm about to say, I encourage you to check that out. But in short, it seemed like the man capitalized on rumors in the community, combined with his fascination for mechanics and science, and either A, fabricated a very intricate story, or B, was telling the truth, and in a way that kind of shattered us all with regards to UFOs. It went from stories to, oh my gosh, this is real, this man is confirming it.
Yeah. There's like a part of his story is like you'd pass by doors that have like some really interesting things in them.
Yep. They called the aliens the kids because they were all apparently 3 foot tall.
Yeah, the kids.
Traditional, like little gray aliens, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you some more details though. So when talking about these UFOs that he was reverse engineering, he claimed that they were powered by Element 115, which at the time had yet to be discovered. So he's basically anticipating an element, at the time, a stranger to humankind. Additionally, he said that the government had been in contact with aliens from the system Zeta Reticuli, which sounds like a perfectly reasonable sci-fi name.
Yep.
But he also claimed he saw them while being in the workplace, that there were living beings from beyond Earth walking around in Area 51, specifically a secret location called S4. That's where he said he worked. That's where he said most of this reverse engineering went down. At the time, especially, no one had ever heard of a location within Area 51 called S4. So what he did, depending on how you want to believe this, if he was telling the truth, it's very vivid truth. If he's telling a story, he's really writing the lines between sci-fi, adding details to kind of encourage your belief in what he's saying, and also using reality. But what's interesting, and again, we go into way more detail in the Bob Lazar episode, one thing that stood out though is that he made some claims about a device that can scan your hands. It was a way to prove your identity, so that way when you walked into work, it wasn't scanning a badge, it was putting your hands on a device, scanning them, it proves your identity that way, and then you can enter the facility. It was years after he claimed a device of that nature and drew sketches of it, that device actually showed up in the public and was subsequently declassified. So it's things like that that make people go, I don't know, is he telling the truth? Because how would he know about this classified device?
Well, because of his clearance.
Well, that's to believe him then. So then
I don't
you believe
think
the aliens are there.
It's not to believe everything, right? Because I'm to believe that he knows about a handful of classified things.
Yeah.
Like the scanner for your identification, because that's just going to be something that they're just like, look, man, we've got class level 15, this hand device scan thing. We can get people from up to level, like as low as level 2 can use it. You know what I mean?
Got it.
And it's such as what I'm getting at.
So he's using the truth
he's
to
using
sell
the truth,
lie.
where it's just like, oh, okay, well, like, yeah, there are some things that I'm privy to that no one else is privy to.
Got it.
But like, so is everybody else in this area. That's just the day-to-day stuff. We got some things that are a little bit more advanced in terms of tech than what you see out there, just because of where we're at. Because if you're gonna have a facility that is heavily guarded like that, they're gonna use some higher level stuff in terms of technology and the way, and even if it's just for like convenience or like security reasons. And so I do think he was privy to that kind of access, but I do feel like it's access and like more common to everyone else in the facility. And so he's like, look, there's a handful of things that like no one else has, but it helps bolster his story.
Right, 100%. What makes it kind of interesting is that there's no real history of him working where he claimed to, or having a degree from the college that he had claimed to go to. We talk way in detail, like I said, I'll sell the episode one more time. In the Bob Lazar episode, we talk about that. But I don't know, it's just very interesting.
Did the government pull it?
Ooh, I think, did we talk about that? As a theory that because he was coming out with all this classified stuff that the government's going, we need to discredit this man.
Yeah,
and
we
pluck
did talk
all of his
about
records.
that. We
Ooh,
did.
oh man.
It goes, we talk, sorry, I can talk all day. This is the first episode I actually wrote. So I was like,
oh,
that's
sick.
Like, yeah, we talk about that. We talk about,
it shows you how long it's been since we recorded that. I barely remember it, but
we've done a lot of task force.
Bob Lazar is just such an interesting individual. We could, like I said, go way off the lines here, but the point is, There are multiple stories from before Area 51 and after it that really helped hoist it into the public eye and really helped these rumors start to spread. And it's because of all the known and unknown elements of Area 51 that these rumors are flying around just as hot as they were decades ago. I think this will be a permanent fixture to the mystery board of the United States. Well, hello there, Task Force. As always, it's me, Trevor, to give you the ins and outs, the housekeeping notes, as it were, of Red Web. And oh, we have just a few of them. Speaking of a few notes, we have a notebook at store.roosterteeth.com, as well as our conspiracy snapback hat. It's a black hat, the Task Force logo, red underbrim, and a lush silver cloth on the inside to emulate the tinfoil protection from the government mind wipes and alien brain-sucking straws. Proverbial, of course. We also have the evidence box and so many other things. If you want to support the show that way, you can do so at store.roosterteeth.com, and we thank you so, so much. But otherwise, if you want to give us a free gesture of love and support, you can always share this show with a friend of yours. Just word of mouth means so much to us and helps this show grow and reach new other task force members to all join the conversation. So if you've shared this show with somebody else, also thank you so, so much. With that said, we have a couple of fantastic sponsors to talk about. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you ever feel like you're constantly giving your time and energy to others, but then neglecting your own needs? It's tough to find the balance between supporting others and taking care of ourselves. Sometimes we need just a little extra help to maintain that balance, and that's where therapy comes in. It can be a game changer when it comes to finding balance and learning how to set healthy boundaries. And let's face it, who couldn't use some extra support and guidance in life? If you're thinking about giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a really great option. They make it super easy and accessible because it's all done online. Plus, they'll work with your schedule to make sure that you can fit it into your busy life. All you have to do is fill out a quick questionnaire to get started, and you can switch therapists at any time for no extra cost. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/redweb today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/redweb. This episode of Red Web is also sponsored by ExpressVPN. It's the only way to truly keep your online activity private. You know all those times when you use public Wi-Fi at coffee shops, hotels, fast food restaurants, your parents' house? Well, without ExpressVPN, your online activity can be monitored by the network admin. And don't get me started on what your nosy parents could possibly discover about your behaviors online. ExpressVPN encrypts all of your network data and routes it through a secure network of servers, so your private online activity stays private. And the best part, it's super easy to use. Just tap the button and start browsing. I've used ExpressVPN several times, and no matter if I'm gaming or browsing the web, I experience no drop in speed, which is really nice, and I appreciate just how easy it is to use. You can stop letting strangers invade your online privacy. Protect yourself at expressvpn.com/redweb. Use our link at expressvpn.com/redweb to get 3 extra months for free. That's expressvpn.com/redweb to learn more. This episode of Red Web is also sponsored by Babbel. If you're planning a summer trip abroad, you need the go-to travel hack, Babbel. Whether you're a seasoned explorer or a newbie, speaking the local language can unlock incredible experiences. That's where Babbel comes in. With over 10 million subscribers, they're the perfect language learning app for anyone looking to learn a new language fast. Babbel has fun and easy bite-sized lessons that fit into your busy schedule. Just 10 minutes a day, and you'll be able to have real-life conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Their lessons are built on practical conversations, like ordering food or asking for directions, so you'll be ready to jump right into the culture. I really enjoy Babbel because it helps me keep up to date with my languages that I learned way back in my schooling days, such as Spanish and French. I really do appreciate that it offers me that conversational level, which is very, very important if you want to even attempt that full immersion experience itself. Right now, get up to 55% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/redweb. Again, that's babbel.com/redweb for up to 55% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. And with that said, let's get right back into the mystery. Let's talk about some of the rumors, the stories, and conspiracy theories surrounding Area 51. So like I said, we were going to talk a little bit more about the Roswell UFO incident and see if anything stands out to you. On June 14th, 1947, the rancher named W.W. Mac Brazel discovered unidentifiable debris in his sheep pasture. This is about 80 miles northwest of Roswell, New Mexico, or 129 kilometers if you prefer. Brazel described the scene as, quote, a large area of bright wreckage made up of rubber strips, tinfoil, and rather tough paper and sticks. What does that sound like? An arts and craft project?
Sounds like maybe the pieces of an aircraft that they were testing.
Rubber strips, tinfoil, tough paper, and sticks.
How, what? This just seems like
a
someone's
goofy kite.
Science project.
Yeah. Some people believed that it was a high-altitude balloon, but I'm sure we'll get to it. So on July 4th, 1947, he gathered all the wreckage that he could find, gathered it into his car, and then drove off. Brazel then reached out to police and brought them all the debris he could find, which the police then brought the military on board to investigate as well. Major Jesse Marcel, an intelligence officer, was sent to Brazel's pasture in order to investigate. While visiting the site, Marcel decided to comment to a local newspaper, the Roswell Daily Record, on what they had found. This may have been a mistake because it's really what launched it into the public's mind. On July 8th, the story ran in the afternoon paper with the headline, RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell. On July 9th, an airfield official clarified the statement made in the paper, claiming now the debris found was from a crashed weather balloon. So immediately this feels like backpedaling, but what it is that I think the newspaper ran with something very quickly, and then the officials were like, hold on, you went too far too fast, this is what it actually is, and now the public's going, you backpedaled, You've got even more to hide.
It also just seems like it's tinfoil, some rubber, some sticks, and then like the person that owns the property is like, I don't know what this is, and then goes to the sheriff, and the sheriff goes, I don't know what this is, and then calls another person, like a colonel, and goes, I don't know what this is either. And I'm like, is it just foil and some sticks?
Some foil and some sticks.
Like,
it sounds like a third grade arts and crafts project.
None of
for
this
sure.
sounds like, I don't know, like you couldn't have put it together yourself or something, or bought it at the supermarket. That's the thing that's like throwing me way off right now. There's no type of like liquid or material or substance or
no
chemical,
technology,
no tech. It's just like, just seems so basic.
Right. Now, what's interesting about this debris, it's possible that it could be tied back to the then highly classified government project called Project Mogul. Basically, to contextualize this, it was essentially a nuclear deterrent, because back in the wake of World War II, there was a lot of tension in the Cold War between the US and the USSR, and these were basically very high-altitude balloons that would be sent up into the ionosphere that would then monitor for incoming nuclear weapons. So that way, we could either launch countermeasures, know it's coming, move people, whatever needs to be done. So that is one of the leading theories as to what this debris actually was about.
I will say, as the Roswell story, it's so underwhelming.
Yeah.
I was like, what? That's the story? Okay.
Now, of course, people coming out and saying, no, this is just for like, hey, it is top secret, but it is for this high altitude anti-nuclear weapon kind of device. It didn't stop the people from going alien wild. They for sure thought that this was
covering it up.
Right, exactly. And so, of course, as you know, today, even Roswell is heavily toured by many tourists that want to come take pictures or want to see aliens, want to see UFOs, and sightings have been continuously happening in and around these areas for decades. And so the question is it because of aliens enjoying this as a hotspot, or is it because of all the military and government agencies around?
Yeah, I guess it's like, why would that be the alien hotspot? Why are aliens going there? But it could be aliens all across the country, and then they just bring it to.
I still like the idea that they're just they're teenage aliens, and they're popping over here, and they're like,
oh yeah,
what's your top secret stuff? Let me go see it. I'm gonna put you on blast. You're like, oh, come on, man. Why'd you gotta publicize my secret Area 51?
We just make airplanes. We gotta blow it up.
Hey, let's just hover our aircraft right near that military base, just for a little bit.
Freak them out.
Yeah, this will stir things up, and then they watch. All right. So for many years, most of the general public accepted the explanation that came from the government, right? That it was just a high altitude balloon. However, in 1978. Physicist turned UFOologist Stanton Friedman rediscovered this 1947 case when he was tipped off that Jesse Marcel had an interesting account of the incident. Marcel told Friedman that the weather balloon explanation was a cover story, and all photos and evidence were staged to hide the fact that it was actually an extraterrestrial spaceship that had been found. And that's why we then joke about it, because all the things made available to us were smokescreen and mirrors. There have also been other claims of people being on the ground at the time, witnessing alien bodies from this crash, though Marcel has denied this. This rumor was started by the 1980 book, The Roswell Incident by Charles Berlitz and William Moore, for what it's worth.
Oh, man, it's coming out of a book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of just like, look, man, how are we going to write? We need to write something that makes us money. So there's that. But two, it's just like, we're going to write something, but also, I mean, what does this book have that nothing else has?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
They took bodies out of it.
His bodies. Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Right. I mean, logically speaking, if it were in fact an alien spacecraft, I feel like it would be a drone, a self-replicating piece of technology that could fly off into space, ignore the fact that it was ever from life, land on planets, harvest material, make more aircraft, fly off again, kind of like an interstellar virus. And then it just came here and then maybe crashed.
But even then, it would just boil.
Right.
Some like rubber.
I don't know.
Sticks?
I don't know,
Bro,
man. Is it the smoke and mirrors or is it the honesty? I can't figure it out, but
you
man.
say sticks? Yeah, but what the public got was like tinfoil and sticks, man. Come on, dude. If it was like bro, give me something.
Right.
You're in the middle of like your land. You're saying tinfoil and sticks.
Mm-hmm.
I could literally put that together in the next 2 minutes.
Bro, you could build that into a coat rack, because right now I'm struggling to hang my hat on this thing.
That's it. Damn you.
All right, finishing up with the Roswell. Some believe that the supposed UFO debris and its dead or alive alien crew, kind of up to interpretation, are being studied at Area 51's rumored underground facility. So that's what kind of bringing it all back to Area 51. I know we kind of went deep on Roswell, but perhaps the Roswell UFO is one of the aircrafts that Bob Lazar was said to have been reverse engineering. Perhaps this is one of the original reasons why Area 51 exists. So the last piece on this is that, of course, in 2013 when Area 51 was declassified, a lot of people were split. Some people were like, boom, this solidifies to me that Bob Lazar was telling all the truth and nothing but the truth. And then some people go, okay, well, I do think it weakens the case that he had. It is just a flight test facility. It has nothing to do with aliens. But one of the things that keeps some theorists going, keeps them motivated, hungry, is a project called Have Donut.
Have Donut?
Have Donut.
All caps.
Okay.
All caps, because you gotta have that donut. Basically, it was a project, a top secret project, where captured Soviet airships would be obtained and then subsequently reverse engineered. And so, because of that, it does open up the foundations for saying, okay, well, we do reverse engineer things. Why not alien things?
Because you don't have access to it. I mean, what?
It is a bit of a leap to go from reverse engineering a nearby country's items to reverse engineering an interstellar traveler's items. But anyway, it doesn't stop people from wishing. All right, let's move on.
It's such a weak argument.
I think people are arguing that, well, it's in their wheelhouse.
Right. It's in my wheelhouse to get paid. And so it's just like, well, if he gets paid $100, why does it have $1 million? It's like, it doesn't, because it doesn't exist. I don't have it. And just like they don't have this alien technology.
Alfredo Diaz, 1%er?
You could
I don't know. I don't know.
Reverse engineer stuff.
That's a good point. He might be paid $1 million.
Doesn't mean.
Uh-oh.
Bro, I haven't seen it. doesn't mean that they have access to,
sure.
Like,
for sure.
I mean, yeah, sure.
But that's
they're
what
probably
keeps
the
the theory
first
going.
place to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
that's a leap.
It's like your specialty is in playing with boats, so you must be time traveling. Well, both are mechanical in a way,
Right.
but completely different lanes.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on now. Roswell, super fascinating case. Definitely started to get attached to Area 51. But another program, top secret, that may or may not exist, is called the Aurora program. And well, let's just talk about it and see how it might be attached to Area 51. So Aurora refers to a rumored reconnaissance aircraft believed to travel at Mach 5, i.e. hypersonic speed, just way faster than the speed of sound. Others still rumor that this supposed aircraft could travel upwards of Mach 8. That's face-peelingly fast. I feel like if a human being jumped out of an aircraft going at Mach 8, you would become mist. Gone. Now, to contextualize this, again, my favorite aircraft, the SR-17 Blackbird, it was able to travel at Mach 3 speeds. Rumors of an Aurora project kind of aircraft began to crop up as the Blackbird project was aging. A little fun fact about the SR-71 Blackbird, when you fuel that thing on the ground, it leaks fuel because it's built to go Mach 3. And when it's going that fast, it has so much friction on it that the metal expands. So it expands into place. And so when it's on the ground, it has all these gaps and loose spots. And so fuel will just kind of trickle out of it. So that way when it blasts off and it gets up to speed, all that metal expands where it should be.
What? And then holds
and then
everything.
It stops leaking.
What?
It's wild, huh?
Some very smart people.
Yeah. Now, the public believed that the government must be working on something better if the SR-71 Blackbird was going to be retired in 98 or 99. I think that's a reasonable thing to say.
Very reasonable, yeah.
It's an amazing piece of technology and amazing feat of engineering. We're hitting the 2000s. We think hoverboards and hovercars are all coming around. We're going to be teleporting this way and that. Well,
we're so wrong.
We were not on the ball. Instead, we had the .com bubble. We had pets.com. We instead looked inward and went to the internet. But I think that's totally reasonable. But again, we don't know if this project ever existed. It's just a reasonable assumption. So the legend of the Aurora project began in 1990 when Aviation Week and Space Technology magazine published the term Aurora had been used in 1985's U.S. budget as an allocation for $455 million for, quote, black aircraft production in the 1987 fiscal year. So basically, something mysterious showed up on the budget, and people started going, dang, we got to start looking at this line by line. What does that mean? According to the magazine, the term Aurora referred to the group of exotic aircrafts, not a singular spacecraft itself. And then air quotes, black projects are top secret government or military projects. So combining all of that, you have a fleet potentially of highly classified question marks. Perfect storm for rumors to fly off the handrails.
Oh, for sure when you're talking about aliens, but again, it just seems like it is what it is. You know?
It does. Because it seems pretty straightforward, like maybe not.
There's a lot of things that we can't trust with the government, but they're gonna, something's declassified, there's already a more advanced version of it, right? Or an altered version of it.
100%.
Like, they're constantly trying to work on pushing technology and having an upper hand on, against different countries.
Yep.
So,
and we're always going to know about it late.
Right.
Which is why I always like to say, there's something crazy advanced out there right now.
Oh, most definitely.
And we just don't know what it is.
Right, exactly. So yeah, all this makes perfect sense.
Oh yeah. Now in 1989, you have a man named Chris Gibson who saw a strange triangular shaped aircraft while working on an oil rig in the North Sea in Europe. What's interesting here, and the reason why I'm talking about a European sighting is this. Gibson was previously in the Royal Air Force for 12 years as a member of the Royal Observer Corps. He was tasked with visual detection / tracking of aircraft. So this was his gig. Oh. This is what he was doing. Now, he claimed that he saw this mysterious triangular shaped aircraft flanked by 2 U.S. aircraft that were then refueling the triangular plane mid-flight. So basically, the idea is that he was thinking he was seeing one of the aircrafts within Project Aurora internationally. He's like, I see this aircraft. I don't recognize it at all. It's being refueled in the air. It's being blocked by 2 other planes. But you're right. It could easily be one of the stealth bombers, which is very triangular.
Yeah, it's very triangular.
Yeah. Now, in 2005, you have a man named Bill Sweetman. He was an Aviation Week editor, and he wrote that Aurora could explain budget holes, sonic booms heard in Southern California, as well as Gibson's sighting. So what he's trying to do is pull it all together. You have a couple people throughout Nevada and Texas. Now you have Chris Gibson, who's seeing something specific over in Europe. And then you also have mysterious sonic booms happening kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. You pull this all together and it starts to tell a story. It starts to maybe validate the idea of a secret project that We know it's Aurora, or at least on paper it was called that. We know nothing else. He believes that he has found $9 billion of unexplained Air Force spending. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot. I'm very afraid to see all the spending that's off the record.
Yes. Right, the non-public spending. Now here's what's interesting, which is why I love your gut instinct. You have the former head of Skunkworks, Ben Rich. He wrote in his memoir that Aurora was simply a budget code used for a possible stealth bomber. Basically, when you go to mark down your hours, as anyone does any week, you just attribute that time to Aurora. And so, maybe that was the project name, and boom.
Stealth bomber.
Stealth bomber.
That's what they worked on.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got to log the budgets and you got to allocate the time.
Right. And it's like tax money too, so it's like, it has to kind of be somewhere.
Yeah. And so this is, it's interesting how Area 51 is just being, and I'll just use the word dismantled in terms of it's like, alien facility. Like all this sounds like, it's a top secret government facility.
Right.
Where they focus on aviation.
Yep.
But that's what they do. And it totally makes sense as to why people are like, aliens. I'm seeing weird stuff come out of there. I'm hearing weird noises. Like, well, yeah, they're testing stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting. I mean, so far now we've covered 2 rumors that kind of center on Area 51. It's like we got a hub and spoke situation where Area 51 just has all these arms that reach out into these rumors, conspiracies, and otherwise guesswork as to what's going on there. Now, this next one is super interesting because there are conspiracy theories at Area 51 that involve specialized paranormal research and other programs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've talked a lot about aliens. I think everyone, when you hear Area 51, you go, boom, aliens, little green men, reverse engineering, secret planes. Now we've got weather control, we've got time travel, we've got teleportation. Many of these strange theories revolve around the idea that there are underground areas at Area 51 where this technology could be hidden. This otherwise extremely advanced technology beyond any level of our current comprehension, you know? This would basically be like if we were in the 1980s while we're all using wired telephones with that long coil cable, and they're down there using their touchscreen smartphones, right? It would be almost akin to that.
Oh, I 100% think that's what's happening, but I don't think like time travel and stuff. I don't know.
No?
No. Why is the economy so terrible?
Oh, well, why? Who knows? I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like they would time travel and then, I feel like there'd be a lot more stuff in our history that's beneficial to the United States.
Maybe they just meddled too much and then they broke it all up. They said, let's go back and check out the dinosaurs, and they stepped on the wrong grasshopper and it just wiped out half the ecosystem. They came back and they said, oh, where's Atlantis?
Bobby, I mean, yeah, you get into all that theory and dude, that'd be, yeah.
One of the small theories is that Area 51 has a secret Cheshire airstrip. Supposedly, this is a secret landing strip that can only be revealed with sprinklers that wet the surface and allow pilots to see it. This theory is odd since Area 51 is already, it's already got Groom Lake, so they can land and take off from there. And they would also still be picked up on radar no matter where they were landing out there. So a secret airstrip doesn't really stand to reason. But this theory arose from a blog called Otherhand, who supposedly heard about it from an anonymous pilot. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of weight there, but either way, there's more paranormal theories floating around this place than I would have guessed.
Yeah.
Do you think they got ghosts in cages down there?
I don't think they got ghosts in cages.
Maybe Ghostbusters are real. You got the Men in Black and the Ghostbusters at the same agency.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I never thought about paranormal stuff being like tied into Area 51.
Alien ghosts. Maybe we're not seeing UFOs. We're seeing high altitude ghosts.
Oh,
you ever think of that?
Yeah.
No,
I've never seen a ghost at high altitudes. What does it do when the sun hits it?
Yeah, wait.
Maybe it twinkles like a triangle.
Like a triangle.
I don't know, man. All right, to kind of wrap up the idea of the paranormal, some say that there are tunnels underground that connect Area 51 to other military base and test site. I think that's perfectly reasonable. But for some, this seems far-fetched. There is a former employee that told Los Angeles Times in 2012 that there is some truth to this theory, My personal take is that maybe it's not as fantastic as a sprawling underground city of advanced technologies and paranormal research, but who knows? This world is strange. In fact, during Project NERVA, N-E-R-V-A, which stands for Nuclear Engine for Rocket Vehicle Application, testing was done underground at Area 25 in the Nevada test site, and 3 test cell facilities were connected by railroad, but everything else was underground, is what they had to say. Area 25 is roughly about 50 miles from Area 51, so with all that kind of said, it stands to reason that there could at least be some mysterious underground tunnels, but what they contain and what their purpose is, yet to be determined. Ooh. So you don't hang your hat on the paranormal stuff as much?
No, I hang my hat on there's a lot of advanced technology there. There's a lot of mostly focused on aviation. They're testing stuff out. And that's why they're locking stuff down. I mean, if they're
makes sense.
If they were making an advanced plane to fly and spy on different countries, well, then yeah, I get why they're flying people in and like, you know, the different divisions piled on because it's a great place and to make this stuff, and then all the top secret, like traveling and transportation. Yeah,
it's just interesting.
Because,
I mean, it's like,
oh, okay, like you're working on one specific thing. I'm working on the new stealth bomber, but then like they don't want you, you know, they don't want you to see or know what's going on in the hangar next to you, which could be another type of plane.
Nor do they want photos out the airplane or bus windows. Is probably why it's all blacked out. So really, all it is to me, and it sounds like to you, is just oddities that we're not used to in the normal world.
Yep.
And our deep curiosity for what's going on is running into the wall that is top secret engineering work. That's just all it is.
Yeah. And you know what? I think why this like top secret government facility is so public and so out there is because it deals with aviation, right? Like you're not like the government isn't going to spend money on building like a facility and then having an underground like landing strip, and it opens like the ground opens up like Charles Xavier's mansion, you know.
And they had an SR-71.
They did, and then the X-Men jet comes out of the ground.
How did it take us this long to get to movies?
But like you know what I mean? Like so like they're dealing with flying aircrafts.
Yeah.
So they need the space. They need things to be open. I don't know. It's all just kind of. That's where my mind's at.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we have 2 more kind of rumors / conspiracies to discuss, so let's dive into it. In 2011, a book called Area 51 Uncensored absolutely exploded the attention on Area 51. It released in just so much intrigue and dripping with it, right? We talked a little bit in Roswell about the little green aliens that were seen, or gray aliens, depends.
Right.
But this expands on that in a really interesting way.
Okay.
This is a book about Area 51, of course, but it reportedly is based on interviews of many inside sources. And so this immediately, got a lot of interest on it. Okay, we got some Bob Lazars in here. Let's hear what they have to say, essentially.
You got a collection of former employees.
Absolutely. So it was written by journalist and editor of the Los Angeles Times, which seems to give it credence, Annie Jacobson, who introduced a new and alternate theory for the Roswell incident.
Oh.
It's very interesting. I hadn't heard this before. I'm just waiting on the edge of the cliff before I dive in because it's so interesting. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it.
I mean, it makes sense that there'd be a book. I mean, good on someone to be able to essentially scoop up a bunch of former employees.
Right. We hope, right?
Yeah.
We trust.
You trust, but also at the same time, like my experience, there's a lot of times where like former employees will like leave and kind of like bolster a story.
Right,
you know what I mean?
They'll lean on it. They'll kind of add to it. And then you go, well, you were a Navy pilot, so you must know about X, Y, or Z.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is in particular about Roswell now. So at the crash site, some of the witnesses claimed to have seen child-sized bodies, which once again further fueled that alien theory. That's not really new news, but Jacobson claims that these child-sized bodies in the crashed ship were actually part of a Soviet experiment. So she wrote that Joseph Mengele, a Nazi physician, of course, aliens involved, time travel and everything, Nazis got to be in play. He was a Nazi physician who did experiments on prisoners at Auschwitz. He apparently was hired by Stalin to create some type of team of child-sized pilots. Very twisted stuff. And in order to sow fear in the US, they wanted to have these child-sized pilots fly around this experimental craft to basically raise the alarm bells and get people really worried. But unfortunately, for them anyway, this vehicle, whatever they were flying, crashed, and that was a total accident. And so that's the crash per this book that they found at Roswell, that it wasn't aliens, it wasn't alien bodies, but in fact, unfortunately, children of the Soviet Union.
This is blowing my mind.
Right?
Because Area 51 and the whole Roswell situation is not aliens. It's more so just top secret stuff. And now other governments are getting involved to also like make us think it's aliens.
Yeah.
If that's true, right? Like, tell me, I mean, look, right? The Nazis, the Soviet Union, there's a lot of sketchy stuff. Throwing children in an aircraft and sending them up to scare
It's a new level of sketch.
the United States. That's a wild story.
Let me try to ground it now.
Okay.
Because there is some, a little bit of reality to base this on.
Okay.
I mean, of course you have the wreck, and of course you have witnesses saying they see entities of some kind.
Yeah.
The other piece of reality that it's grounded in is actually Orson Welles' radio show, War of the Worlds. I'm sure you know about the book and the movies, Tom Cruise and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But when the radio play happened, it was so authentic and it was so believable that people thought that this was an actual situation, that the world was in fact being invaded by aliens.
Oh, my goodness.
And this was 1938, and so this is a brand new kind of thing.
Yeah,
people
I can
are
see
freaking
that.
out.
I mean, yeah, I can see that happening. That's right.
Yeah.
How do you do something like that and then not tell, I don't know, how to break that immersion?
Ask for forgiveness.
Whereas like
You
every 3
immerse
minutes,
them.
it's just like, hey, guys, it's me. It's just not real.
Right.
It's just a story. Now we continue.
Yeah.
Like,
Imagine next week's episode, it's just me alone, super alarmist, and it's like, but it's on an iPhone kind of microphone. So I'm like, oh God, guys, everything's changed. Everything's different now.
Yeah.
And then, but like suddenly it just cuts out and you're like, was that a real episode? Are they okay?
yeah, it's what's going
I mean,
on. Check on their social media.
Right. But there's no social. There's no TV. No one to turn to, just radio. So we're in the 30s. Orson Welles' radio play really hits hard. I mean, people believe it. Now, the rumors are that this team of children pilots were all around 12 to 13 years old, and that they were supposedly given, whether they were helmets or prosthetics or something, large heads with big eyes in order to look like aliens as described from the War of the Worlds play. And I'm thinking, man, you're really planning for this plane to go down so somebody sees these children.
What?
But basically the idea is, or the theory on top of this kind of rumor conspiracy is that Stalin's plan was to learn from how people believed the story in 1938 to continue to incite fear in other unique ways.
I did want to add, the theories that Mengele did like experiments and tests on these children.
So he did more than just strap them into a plane. Oh gosh.
It was like, yeah, it's really...
That's terrible. We'll leave it at that because I'm definitely not curious enough to know, but that's terrible. So when you say the big head and big eyes, it was not helmets and prosthetics as I was optimistically hoping.
Yeah.
It's definitely something more Nazi-like.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
God. So what do you think about that?
I mean,
I'd never heard that
like,
before.
The ship crash lands, and then you have, I mean, honestly, these children that are probably deformed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Experimented on,
and then what? Like, it breaks the alien immersion.
Yeah.
Like, they'll run an autopsy and then be like, okay. Or what? Like, your best case scenario is they fly low enough, maybe a plane or someone spots them.
Right.
But more than likely, they're flying and then U.S. aircrafts tag them and then have them come down. Not shoot them.
Yeah.
But like,
let's back up a second.
Essentially, like bring them down and be like, hey, like land here.
Right. You hail them essentially, right? You radio it. Right. You say, all right, we're going to fly with us. We're going to guide you in. Let's back up a second, because as I'm kind of spouting this rumor, it reeks a little bit to me of a lot of hindsight and fitting things in to kind of validate an otherwise interesting story, right? It's got the universal baddies as like the centerpiece. It's got an enemy of the time, USSR, at the center. And then it builds a fantastic story around the rumor of seeing little aliens on the ground. Now, as fascinating as it all is, I got to come back to the sticks and tinfoil. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We're not flying some sort of advanced technology. This feels like they were given the world's worst parachutes if the story is to be believed. You know, what were they actually flying? And if there was 2 or 3 of them, I mean, I'm a little jumbled on the sticks, tinfoil, and rubber strips.
I mean, it seems like it was literally nothing. They just strapped them to a rocket and sent them on their way. And then they parachuted down, and parachutes didn't work.
Goodness,
yeah. Like we're not seeing an aircraft of any sort. It's like barely any debris.
It feels like a rudimentary glider, if that. You know what I mean? Before we move on to the last kind of rumor / story, which is very grounded in reality, I totally believe this next one. What would you feel like? What would you believe if you were on the ground having seen this whole Roswell situation? Just seeing a couple of, like, you have none of the stories yet. You're just you're ground zero.
Sticks and tinfoil.
Right.
Like,
you're ground zero. You're at the site. You're like, oh, this happened. This is weird. You're part of the party that finds it for the first time. What would be realistically going through your head? Because I know we're kind of dripping our doubt on it.
What version are we looking at here?
Just realistically what he found, right? Rubber strips, tinfoil, some sticks, some aluminum tubing, I think. Like just various pieces.
I would think that like kids got into my, like, hop the fence to my land.
Make a little tent.
And then they're trying to just make some, I don't know, a little rocket or whatever it is, or just trying to build something. Or
it's the shininess of it that makes it feel futuristic, right? Because like in the 50s, they're going, in the far future, everything's chrome.
That's true.
So now with that kind of in your mind, does it shift in any way? Are you seeking some otherworldly answer?
Foil.
Yeah. Maybe pick it up, and make a little hat out of it.
And rubber.
Yeah.
There's nothing that like alarms me whatsoever. You know what I mean? If anything, I'm probably thinking, who's throwing trash on my land?
That's a good point.
That's really where my mind's probably going to. Who was on my land and why do they have their trash here still?
Yeah, I'm just like, we've imposed a lot of our like hindsight and doubt on the story. I'm just really curious as to like all things removed now. I'm trying to like put myself back in time. What would I feel like? And I'm like, it is a very mysterious pile of ingredients to have found. But I'm like, I really don't know what else I would think.
Yeah, but usually there's one piece that makes you question.
Yeah.
Or even doubt.
And I think really it's the fact that Area 51 is just in the rumor mill at the time that created this chemical concoction that exploded into it must be aliens for a lot of things.
I mean, I could see that people were just like super heightened awareness on like aliens and top secret stuff.
Yeah.
But like I still need something more than that.
I think so too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could be talking about like some type of bad virus or something like that that's going around. But
bad virus? It could be a bad superhero.
But if I'm not seeing like
they call me the Chrome Rocket. I fly through the sky. Oh, I'm fun. I hit a sheep.
And then
scatter.
But like if I'm not seeing something that makes it different, you know?
Absolutely. All right, moving on. We have one more kind of bout of stories. Again, something else that I'd never heard of before, but totally makes sense. In 1994, we had Stella, Kasha, and Helen Frost, who were actually widows of 2 individuals who were contractors at Area 51. These 2 women, including a bunch of other anonymous individuals, sued the U.S. Air Force and the EPA. If you're international to the United States, that's the Environmental Protection Agency. And they sued them because they believed that their husbands and these other anonymous individuals were exposed to the smoke from burning unknown chemicals, which caused them skin irritation, respiratory issues, liver conditions, as well as multiple cancers. Kaza and Frost, the husbands who contracted Area 51, were both sheet metal workers. It's unknown what the other anonymous employee positions were, but suffice to say, a lot of individuals that factually worked at Area 51 are coming to the forefront with a lot of medical issues centering around chemical toxicity as well as radiation and radioactivity.
Oh, I believe that 100%. I mean, like it's factual that in U.S. history that we've had our soldiers or just people exposed to different chemicals and that have caused cancer and radiation and chemical burn, all the, you know what I mean? That have really destroyed the human body. And so this makes sense. This is a top secret test site. They're testing things. They might, maybe they're bombing some stuff.
They're getting rid of stuff, burning mysterious items.
Yeah, they're experimenting. And with that, you're diving into the unknown and you have these protocols in place, but ultimately you don't know what the long-lasting effects could be.
God, no. I mean, think about it. I was just talking to Jillian before we were recording about decades ago, they were using leaded gas.
Yeah.
There's so much lead in the air, just absolute toxicity central. I mean, even to this day, if you get a microwave meal, odds are you got a plastic type 1, that stuff's not supposed to be microwaved. It's going to be leaching carcinogens into your food.
Yeah.
And so even to this day, it is reasonable to expect toxicity in everyday things. So let alone a top secret government facility. But the thing is, like, we can kind of trust, sure, I bet that was happening, but it's more, it opened the door to going, okay, well, what were the chemicals? Were they otherworldly? What other rumors stemmed from this? But of course,
yeah, I can see how that spirals into the narrative of Area 51 for sure.
Right. So of course the family members are looking for any sort of payout or reparations for losing some of their family members or otherwise getting cancers and poisons and stuff. So the family members and employees wanted to find out exactly what they had been exposed to. But according to Seattle Times, in Frost's case in particular, quote, biopsies showed that his tissues were filled with industrial toxins rarely seen in humans. Wild. But because Area 51, now this is not a quote, but because Area 51 is exempt from environmental disclosure laws, the case was dropped due to the lack of evidence. And so now you have another very factual case based on reality, very believable, but because you can't dig any deeper because of the top secret level of this facility, it just makes more questions. So people go, boom, that must mean that you have some sort of radioactive being from another planet.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like, I could see that 100% for sure, right? It's just like, we've never seen this type of level in a human being before.
Right.
But it also could just mean that they're just experimenting with high volumes or dosages of those chemicals.
Absolutely.
Right? Where they're in an area where they don't necessarily have to follow government rules and regulations.
Right.
The government's like, hey, if you could find a benefit in this, go buck wild. Maybe, maybe push the boundaries a little bit.
No spared expenses,
then you start triple dosing, quadruple dosing. You start mixing things that like government's like, you shouldn't usually, like you just going. Scientists are going nuts over there.
I'm sure they got dinosaurs underground. They don't know when to stop.
That's true.
I've
seen it in Jurassic Park.
It's that it came from somewhere.
Yeah.
And it also
fossils.
came from 1994.
There's fossils underground.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that science. I don't think it holds up. I think they're rocks. Just really weird shaped rocks.
The rock.
No, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing is if you got a government facility and they're pushing the frontier of science and military technology and they're hiding it all from law, then I'm sure they got, I don't know, different types of fuel that they're testing, different types of materials that they're testing and burning these, touching these, interacting with these things, synthesizing different types of plastics even can create fumes. So really it all makes sense. But the point I'm trying to make is that it really spurred to life the rumor mill, right? It just woke up even more because of things like this. And to get the answer, to say, oh, well, it's this chemical or, oh, it's this fume, is to say, hey, world, try to reverse engineer what would create this fume to try to figure out what we're working on,
Right.
So that's the kind of last piece of storytelling and rumor centering I wanted to give on Area 51. But otherwise, a very fascinating site with a lot of different stories attached to it.
I think what makes this episode so great, like even though we sat here and kind of like I don't see it, is the fact that like I don't think most people know, right? The Roswell stuff was more simple than you think it was. And then with Area 51, it's just a highly publicized top secret.
I love that. Highly publicized top secret.
But it is,
It
though.
is. It absolutely
it really is. Where it's
Yeah.
like, this is the top secret. Don't touch it. Don't even get close. Like, we fly people in and then they're in these like vans. We block out the windows. Also, it's like, it's right here. You can see it. Maybe you can like get close enough to, get some binoculars or hang out up against the fences, whatnot. You might see some stuff, but like, hey, top secret.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Though. And so like, it's this perfect combination of like, everyone knows about it. Everyone knows that like, at the very least, the government is trying new things there. And so just the mysteriousness of it, you spiral into stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Especially because there's a huge aviation history there.
Definitely.
So they're experimenting with different planes. You see a plane, I'm like, that could be an alien. I would think that too. You know what I mean? Like if I see some type of aircraft that I don't normally know, I go, an alien? Or is that like a government experiment? But if there's like a top secret aviation base, I would think skeptical me goes, okay, they're trying out something new. But yeah, there's a part of me that would go, damn.
Yeah.
Is that an alien aircraft? Did I just see something I wasn't supposed to see?
100%.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Here's the thing. We're always going to give a little bit of our take as we go through these episodes. I think what's important to come out of this one is uncovering some of the unknown history that many people don't know. We take for face value that Area 51 is, I don't know, alien central, right? But I think there's something so fascinating into dissecting the history, talking about the facts, and then correlating those against some of the rumors, some of the stories, some of the conspiracies, because then you can start to see the underlying truth to it all. And then you can see why these rumors start to spread out.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I think they're fascinating. And there's a lot of other sightings out there that are still super big question marks to me. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of question marks, and there definitely could be aliens there, right?
oh yeah.
But it's one of those things where this gave me a perspective on Area 51 that I might not have had for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I just, like everyone else, it's the headline. Area 51,
Yeah.
aliens, top
Yeah.
secret. You know what I mean? Because that's what's also like thrown out in Hollywood and everything like that too, right? And entertainment. So sitting here going like, oh, okay, like this is how it started, and this is what they did, and then okay, this is, and then obviously the lane adjacent to that is like, I see how they think it's aliens.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people used it at the center of their storytelling, and regardless, love it all. Even if it's just stories, I love it. And that's what this podcast is all about. But one thing that's really fascinating is that clearly they're just working on cutting edge technology. And when you see something sufficiently advanced, it's either going to look like magic, or it's going to look like aliens, or just something that is capable of something beyond what we expect. If I took my Apple Watch or my phone back to these times, decades ago, this watch that I'm wearing now has more computational power than the Apollo 11 landing capsule. So, I mean, we've done great things with small amounts, but the point is, the far future is just right next door. It's tomorrow. We advance so quickly, so it's perfectly reasonable that a lot of these sufficiently advanced planes that were coming out of this time period, we were spending a lot of money building these planes, researching things. We were advancing very quickly. So when a glimpse of that hits the public, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel like that thing feels more than a decade off. So it must be something else. And aliens just happens to be a very wonderful catch-all, because on one hand, it answers a question that we've always wondered: are we alone?
Yeah.
I think it's an evolutionary question embedded in us, like to be curious, what is out there? And then on the other hand, you need to go, well, either way, that thing's there. I need an answer for it.
Yeah.
And is it that there's a secret, scary place that does advanced technologies, or I don't know, for some people, aliens is kind of a comfort area, because then you go, oh, that answers that.
Like
Nice.
I completely believe there's a bunch of technology. Like if you and I were to walk those halls, right? There's a bunch of technology where we'd sit there and go, oh my God, this is alien tech. But if we took a second to step back, it's like not only does new tech breed like innovation, but it also breeds a different aesthetic, right?
Ooh.
Like they're not gonna have, like if they create some kind of acid round or whatever, they're not gonna throw it into an M4A1, right? They will, but ultimately they're gonna design some type of new looking firearm design to go with that as well, or to have it benefit, right? Because then it's like, this is a new type of ammunition which needs a new type of barrel, and then from there it's like, well,
how does
instead
it
of
trigger
retrofitting all these M4A1s or these AKs, like let's go ahead and design a whole new rifle. And so like with the evolution of technology comes evolution of the aesthetic too.
I thought you were going to say there's going to be a bunch of scientists rocking streetwear down there. And I was like, hell yeah. We got some lab workers with the loose fit shirts.
But I mean, if they are messing with different types of like materials and cloth and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like, why not?
I think we need some streetwear scientists. No joke. I love streetwear. I need that embedded in my science background.
Let me write that one down.
Yeah, sorry, that's just a tangent I shoved in there. But absolutely, a new aesthetic comes with technology. Let me also just, as we're kind of winding down the episode, another piece of background on my part. A decade ago, I was working at an engineering facility, and the whole point of this team that I was working on was advanced technologies. And it was like a baby version of what maybe Area 51 would be like. And one of the things I was researching and helping kind of figure out if it was a viable technology was lithium air batteries. This is way before, I mean, Tesla was like a baby at this time, the car company. EVs were on the wish list way down the way.
Yep.
Batteries, nobody's really thinking about them. They're like, I use AA's, but battery technology just hasn't moved. Doesn't matter. The point is, a lot of these companies that exist now have been thinking about what's coming out now has been thought about 10 to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's just a factual thing that I find so deeply fascinating. So if you love technology, if you love Science Task Force, anything like that, first of all, I love STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Can't support that arm of education enough. But also, if you find technology fascinating, I encourage you to start doing some research and digging in, because what you see now in the public grade is just a trickling of what is possible. There's just it's like cameras, right? When you spend $1,000, you get a decent camera. You spend $2,000, it's double the price for not double the improvement. And then if you get a $10,000 camera, it's not 10x. It's eventually things start to get way more expensive for the smaller and smaller improvements. It's so interesting to start researching into that hyper expensive range, because you start to see, holy crap, this is what the world could look like in 10 to 20 years. Because it will.
Because it will, yeah.
Now I'm just geeking out.
It's just millions and billions of dollars go into R&D, research and development every single day.
Yeah.
And we're just getting just the consumer version of all these things. So anyway,
that's what, there's so many facets, so many things that I really love about Area 51. I love the alien stories, I love the sci-fi stories, but I also love, if nothing else, the pragmatic, grounded idea that advanced technologies are just out there and being hyper-focused on, because I love that. I just love that.
It's the same, right? I think the thing that intrigues me is the fact that there's this, again, publicized, top secret military base, and they've got some insane technologies going on in there, right? They're trying to push the boundaries of tech and maybe some other boundaries that they shouldn't be pushing, but that's what they're doing there.
Oh yeah. You think we've seen?
And I will say, I will add to that.
Ooh, please.
I would say it's probably one of the top areas where if there was an alien, right, maybe they send them there to experiment on, to look at, because it's an established base. They've got bright minds there, etc. So, it's possible, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, that has been Area 51. A lot of musings on science, aliens, and everything in between. This is one of our longer episodes, but man, did I have a good time.
It's Area 51.
It's Area 51. How do I end it? How do I stop talking about it?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was a 2 hour and a half long episode of Squonk, awesome.
Yeah,
but
you know
people
what?
would be what?
Let's revisit Squonk.
Area 51. You get meaty on that.
Absolutely. Sure. Well, Task Force, as always, thank you so much for listening, supporting the show. I see so many of you tweeting us every single week, talking about sharing this show with your friends so you can indulge in mysteries with your buddies, but also helping the Task Force spread. Other things like supporting us in the store.roosterteeth.com, reviewing the show on whatever platform you listen to us on. All of that means a whole lot. So thank you so much for continued support on everything. And let us know what your alien theories might be. If there's anything in Area 51 that you've heard that we haven't covered, I would love a good excuse to come back to this topic.
Yeah.
But otherwise, Fredo, I'll see you right back here next week for another mystery.
But no, seriously, thank you for the help and the reviews, because it keeps the light on. Thank you.